Crime is often reduced to headlines. Criminal psychology looks beyond them. This series examines real criminal cases through psychological theory, behavioral analysis, and ethical reflection. Each case is presented independently, not to sensationalize, but to understand. Welcome to Criminal Psychology Case Files.
Today, we're diving into one of the most haunting and, frankly, one of the most complex cases in recent memory. It's a story that really forces you to confront this terrifying intersection of severe mental illness and, well, the law. So let's set the scene. Picture this: Houston, Texas. A quiet suburban home. You know the kind I'm talking about, right? The kind of place where you think nothing truly awful could ever happen. And inside this very normal-looking home lived a family. 5 young kids, just full of life, and their mother, Andrea Yates. But one summer day, that quiet house became, well, it was filled with an absolutely unthinkable silence. A silence that all started in one specific room. The exact date was June 20th, 2001, and it's a date that would, for all the wrong reasons, get etched into the public's memory. And what happened that morning, it was so methodical. So deliberate. One by one, she carried them. You know, when investigators got to the scene, they noticed something that was just deeply, deeply chilling. There were no screams, no panic, no signs of a struggle. Just this calm, eerie quiet. And this is where the whole story just pivots, you know? It goes from what looks like a straightforward crime scene to something so much more complex. Because Andrea Yates wasn't acting out of hate or anger. In her own mind, she believed she was saving their souls. So that's the real question, isn't it? The one at the absolute heart of this whole thing. Was this a monstrous act? Or was she just drowning inside a mind that had already broken? All right, so we've got the horrific what, a bathtub filled with silence. Now we really need to try and understand the why. And to do that, we have to go inside a broken mind. We're going to take a look at the long, and I mean long, documented psychological history of Andrea Yates. Look, this was not a sudden snap. Not at all. Her history shows this clear, escalating pattern of really severe mental illness, and it was documented for years. We're talking multiple psychiatric hospitalizations, suicide attempts, and diagnoses that point to something way, way more severe than the baby blues. Okay, this is super important to understand. A lot of us have heard of postpartum depression, right? But postpartum psychosis, that's a whole different beast. It is a rare and much, much more severe illness. We're talking about a complete loss of contact with reality, where your mind is creating delusions and hallucinations. That is what Andrea was dealing with. And this just gets to me. It's such a critical point. There was a clear warning. Her psychiatrist literally warned not to leave her alone with the children. The doctors saw the danger, and yet she was left alone. And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the terrifying power of her psychosis. Think about that. This wasn't just some passing thought. It was a fixed, unshakable delusion. In her reality, she was convinced her children were not righteous, and that she had to kill them to save their souls from hell. So all of this lands in the lap of the legal system, which now has this almost impossible task: guilty or insane. And it all boiled down to one critical forensic question. This is the legal test for insanity, right? It's not about was she mentally ill, because, everybody agreed she was, profoundly so. The question was much more specific. At the very moment she committed the acts, did she understand that what she was doing was wrong? And her legal journey was, well, it was a roller coaster. First, in 2002, she was actually convicted of murder, but then that conviction got appealed because of some serious errors in testimony. So they had a retrial in 2006, and this time, a new jury came back with a totally different verdict: not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, not guilty by reason of insanity doesn't mean you just walk free. Not at all. It means she was committed to a psychiatric facility, and today, she's still there. Okay, so that brings us to the really tough part of all this. This whole case just leaves us with this huge question of responsibility. Where does accountability even lie here? Seriously, Think about this for a second. If the brain is an organ, just like the heart, and we know an illness can make it malfunction, at what point does responsibility just dissolve? We don't blame someone for having a faulty heart, right? So how do we handle a faulty brain that completely distorts a person's perception of reality? And let's get even more specific. If all these warning signs were documented, who failed first? Was it just the mother? Or do we also have to look at the system, the whole system, that knew how sick she was, but still sent her home? You know, at the end of the day, some crimes are born from intent, cold, calculated intent. But others seem to crawl out of the fog of an untreated illness. And so the question that just hangs in the air is, can the law even tell the difference?